Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students of third year class. Today we will discuss the carcinogenic agents and their cellular interactions. Hundreds of chemicals have been shown to be carcinogenic in animals. So some of the major agents, these are present table. This is the table, my dear students, representing the carcinogenic agents. What are these agents? The alkylating agents, acylating agents, polycyclic and heterocyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, then aromatic amines, amides and azodides. The alkylating agents, these include beta propiolactone, dimethyl sulfate, dipoxy butane, anti-cancer drugs including cyclophosphamide, chlorambucil, nitrosurias and others. Then acylating agents including acetyl imidazole, dimethyl carbamyl chloride, and then procarcinogens that require metabolic activation. These include polycyclic and heterocyclic aromatic hydrocarbons like benzanthracene, benzopyrene, dibenzanthracene, and aromatic amines like naphthylamine, beta-naphthylamine, benzidine. The natural plants and microbial products that include the carcinogenic agents include aflatoxin B1, then glycofulvin, and the others include nitrosamine and amides, vinyl chloride, nickel, chromium, insecticides, fungicides, then polychlorinated biphenyls. Now, my dear students, we will discuss the various steps that are involved in the chemical carcinogens. So, what are the various steps that lead to chemical carcinogenesis? These are, number one is initiation. What is initiation? It results from exposure of the cells to the sufficient dose of a carcinogenic agent. The carcinogenic agent is named as initiator. So, an initiated cell that has been exposed by the carcinogenic agent, that is named as initiated cell. It is altered, making it potentially capable of giving rise to a tumor. So initiation alone, however, it is not sufficient for tumor formation, as we have discussed already that it's a multi-step process. So what happens after initiation? The initiation causes permanent DNA damage, that is mutation. So it is therefore rapid and irreversible and has memory. So what is the next step? The next step is promotion. So the promoters, what are promoters? The promoters can induce tumors in initiated cells. So what do they do? The cells that have already been initiated, that have been induced by the promoters, but they are non-tumorigenic by themselves. So what to make you people clear is that the cells that have already DNA damage, that have already mutated cells, these are initiated cells and they need promotion for the tumor progression. So promotion is done by the promoters. So the promoters are non-tumorigenic by themselves, but they lead to the promotion of the initiated cells. So what do they do? Furthermore, the tumors do not result when the promoting agent is applied before rather than after the initiating agent. That promoters alone cannot initiate a tumor. Promoters are basically the facilitators. So this indicates that in contrast to the effects of initiators, the cellular changes resulting from the application of promoters do not affect DNA directly and are reversible. So promoters, they enhance the proliferation of the initiated cells. All initiating chemical carcinogens are highly reactive electrophiles, that they have electron deficient atoms that can react with nucleophilic, that are electron rich sites in the cells. So their targets are DNA, RNA and proteins, and in some cases these interactions cause cell death. So initiation, obviously it inflicts non-lethal damage on the DNA that cannot be repaired. So mutation occurs by the process of initiation, and now that initiated cell needs promoters for further tumor proliferation. So the mutated cell then passes on the DNA lesions to its daughter cell. The chemicals that can cause the initiation of carcinogenesis can be classified into two categories. So these chemicals that are involved in the initiation, these are direct acting and indirect acting chemicals. So this is the general scheme of events in chemical carcinogenesis, and we can note that the promoters cause clonal expansion of the initiated cells. Thus they produce a pre-neoplastic clone, and further proliferation induced by the promoter or other factors, it causes the accumulation of additional mutations and emergence of a malignant tumor. So this is the stepwise process that what happens. First of all, the carcinogenic agents, they lead to the metabolic activation, and there is electrophilic intermediates involved, and ultimately what happens, there is binding to DNA, and a result of these are the normal cells. If the DNA repair occurs, it again changes to the normal cell, it again reforms to the normal cell, or if the pro-apoptotic genes are activated, they lead to the cell death. But if this does not happen, there is permanent DNA lesion in the initiated cells. Then what happens? These initiated cells, they are brought to cell proliferation and altered differentiation. So as a result of cell proliferation, as a result of this promotion activity, pre-neoplastic clone is formed, and by further additional mutations and proliferation, a malignant neoplasm occurs. So my dear students, the direct acting agents, these require no metabolic conversion to become carcinogenic. Most of them are weak carcinogens, but are important because some are cancer chemotherapeutic drugs like alkylating agents that have successfully cured, controlled or delayed recurrence of certain types of cancer like leukemia, lymphoma or ovarian carcinoma. Then indirect acting agents. What are indirect acting agents? The indirect acting agents, they refer to the chemicals that require metabolic conversion to an ultimate carcinogen before they become active. So some of the most potent indirect chemical carcinogens, they include the polycyclic hydrocarbons that are present in the fossil fuels. So others are the benzopyrenes and some other carcinogens that are formed in a high temperature combustion of tobacco in the cigarette smoking. So these are indirect acting agents that require metabolic conversion to become active. Polycyclic hydrocarbons, they may also be produced from animal fats during the process of roasting meats and are present in smoked meat and fish. So the principal active products in many hydrocarbons are epoxides, which form covalent adducts, that are addition products with molecules in the cell, principally DNA, but also with RNA and proteins. The aromatic amines or azodies are another class of indirect acting carcinogens that were widely used in the past in the aniline dye and rubber industries. So most chemical carcinogens, they require metabolic activation for conversion into ultimate carcinogens that are indirecting carcinogenic agents. Other metabolic pathway may lead to the inactivation, that is detoxification of the pro-carcinogen or its derivatives. So thus the carcinogenic potency of a chemical is determined not only by the inherent reactivity of its electrophilic derivative, but also by the balance between metabolic activation and inactivation reactions. Most of the known carcinogens, these are metabolized by cytochrome P450 dependent monooxygenases. Because these enzymes are essential for the activation of procarcinogens, the susceptibility to carcinogenesis is regulated in part by polymorphisms in the genes that encode these enzymes. Now my dear students, we discuss the molecular targets of chemical carcinogens. What are the molecular targets? The most important one is DNA. So DNA is the primary target for chemical carcinogens, but there is no single or unique alteration associated with initiation of chemical carcinogenesis. It leads to multi-step process, and there are multiple mutations, and there is mutagenic activity. Although any gene may be the target of chemical carcinogens, the commonly mutated oncogenes and tumor suppressors, these are RAS and p53 genes, and are particularly important targets. Another example of chemical carcinogenesis is aflatoxin B1, that is a naturally occurring agent produced by some strains of Aspergillus, that is a mold that grows on improperly stored grains and nuts. There is a strong correlation between the dietary level of this food contaminant and the incidence of hepatocellular carcinoma in parts of Africa and Far East. Now, the unpaired alteration in the DNA are essential first steps in the process of initiation. Then what happens? Cell proliferation takes place that may be induced by concurrent exposure to biological agents such as viruses and parasites, dietary factors or hormonal influences. So the agents that do not cause mutation but instead they stimulate the division of mutated cells are named as promoters. Radiation carcinogenesis. The radiant energy, whether in the form of UV rays of sunlight or as ionizing electromagnetic and particulate radiation, is a well established carcinogen. So UV rays derived from the sun cause an increased incidence of squamous cell carcinoma, basal cell carcinoma, and possibly the melanoma of the skin. The UV portion of the solar spectrum can be divided into three wavelengths that range from UVA 320 to 400 nanometer, UVB 280 to 320 nanometer, and UVC 200 to 280 nanometer. Of these, UVB is believed to be responsible for the induction of cutaneous cancer. UVC, although a potent mutagen, it is not considered significant because it is filtered out by the ozone shield around the earth. So it's an important MCQ also and Viva question, that which wavelength is important for the cutaneous cancers, that is UVB. Now my dear students, we come to the ionizing radiation, the electromagnetic X-rays and gamma rays and the particulate, that is alpha particles, beta particles, protons, neutrons. The radiations are all carcinogenic. So many individuals pioneering the use of X-rays, they also developed skin cancers. Now we come to the microbial carcinogenesis. The oncogenic RNA viruses, including human T cell leukemia virus type 1, it causes a form of T cell leukemia, lymphoma. Then the oncogenic DNA viruses, certain oncogenic DNA viruses that cause tumors in animals that have been identified. Of the various human DNA viruses, 4 that are human papilloma virus, Epstein-Barr virus, hepatitis B virus, and Kaposi sarcoma herpes virus, also called human herpes virus 8, have been implicated in the causation of human cancer. So these are oncogenic DNA viruses. Now we come to bacteria, Helicobacter pylori. So the first incriminated as a cause of peptic ulcer, that is H. pylori, now has acquired the distinction of being the first bacterium classified as the carcinogen. So indeed H. pylori infection is implicated in the genesis of both gastric adenocarcinoma and gastric lymphoma. So it is also named as oncogenic bacterium, that is Helicobacter pylori. So thank you very much my dear students.